Australia, thanks largely to the economic rise of China, has been in the throes of a mining boom. The Lucky Country, as it is called, has enormous deposits of the high-grade iron ore required by the steel mills of Asia. In Western Australia, where most of the iron ore resides, the boom has created unprecedented prosperity, along with a small tribe of billionaires. Gina Hope Rinehart, who owns a company called Hancock Prospecting and has recently been buying up Australian media properties, is the best known of these new tycoons. According to BRW, the weekly business magazine, Gina Rinehart became the richest woman in Australia in 2010, the richest person in Australia in 2011, and the richest woman in the world in 2012, with an estimated net worth of nearly $30 billion. Rinehart, who lives in Perth, the state capital of Western Australia, is 58, a widow, and a mother of 4. She shuns the press and rarely appears in public. She is sensitive, however, to the media treatment she receives, which is voluminous. She qualifies, by sheer quantity of ink, airtime, websites, pop songs, and pub conversation devoted to her, as a national obsession and often rough. Two things seem to hurt her particularly: the stock news description of her as an heiress, and perceived failures of the press to acknowledge the achievements of her late father, Hancock, whom she adored when they were not feuding with a rare intensity. Hancock was a piece of work. He started out as a rancher, asbestos miner, and prospector in the Pilbara, the vast sweltering wilderness in northwest Australia. It is pronounced as 2 syllables, Pilbara. In November 1952, according to legend, he was flying in a flimsy little Auster aircraft with his wife, Hope, over the Hamersley Range, an extra remote fastness in the Pilbara. A storm arose. Unable to climb through the clouds, they threaded narrow gorges in lashing rain. Hancock, an expert bush pilot, managed to note the rust color, brought out by the rain, of the gorge walls, which, as he later told Australian television, showed it to me to be oxidized iron. He returned to the spot in better weather and started laying the foundation of a mining fortune. He did this not by mining but by prospecting, along with an associate named Ken McCabe, and by tirelessly lobbying the state and federal governments to repeal an embargo on the export of iron ore and a ban on the pegging of claims. When the repeals finally came, in the early 1960s, Hancock staked his claims and, after more rounds of badgering, persuaded mining executives from Britain and the United States to invest in the Pilbara. His royalty agreement with Rio Tinto, a London-based multinational, soon made him a multimillionaire. The big customer in those days was Japan. Unlike his daughter, Hancock actively engaged the press. He told his story to any reporter who would listen. He even started to newspapers, as megaphones for his political views. He was an ardent Western Australia secessionist. Historically a poor, backward, isolated state, Robert Hughes described it, in The Fatal Shore, as a colony with a body the size of Europe and the brain of an infant. Western Australia could become, with its new mining wealth, Hancock believed, a paradise of free enterprise if it could only escape the stifling grasp of the Eastern establishment in Sydney and Melbourne. Hancock wanted to use nuclear weapons for mining and for dredging new ports along the northwest coast, but there was no bloody chance of getting such bold ideas approved by the timid federal bureaucracy in Canberra. He didn't fear radioactive fallout any more than he believed asbestos exposure caused asbestosis or the cancer mesothelioma. The blue asbestos mine that Hancock ran in the 1930s and 40s at Wittenoom is thought to have caused hundreds of asbestos-related deaths, many of them among its largely Aboriginal workforce. But Hancock never accepted the medical connection, let alone responsibility. He held an extreme version of a common attitude among white Australians of his generation toward Native people. He once told a television interviewer that the problem of half-castes could be solved by luring people to a central welfare office, to dote their water in order to sterilize them and thus wipe out the race. Gina was Lang and Hope Hancock's only child. Lang had expected a boy, whom he planned to name George, for his father. He took to calling George Gina young fella or my right-hand man. He and Gina were exceptionally close. When she was small, they lived in the Pilbara, 40 miles north of Wittenoom. On Saturdays, they flew 600 miles to buy groceries. After Hope developed breast cancer, the family moved to Perth to be near a good hospital. Gina boarded at a girls' school, where her fellow students remember Plank sometimes coming in a Rolls-Royce to spend the afternoons talking with his daughter in his car. When the BBC made Man of Iron, a documentary about Plank, in 1966, the film crew went to the school to interview 12-year-old Gina. "I think my father is nearly perfect," she said. "I think he's quite handsome, except a bit fat." Hancock's obsession with mining and the Pilbara for decades, he struggled, in vain, to find backers to develop his own iron ore mine was transferred intact to his daughter. He took her with him, even as a child, to business meetings all over the globe, to the amusement of bankers and sheiks. Tim Winton, the Western Australian novelist, says that Gina's childhood seemed to be a science experiment, conducted inside a regal bubble. When she was old enough to drive, Plank is said to have had 10 new cars brought to her school for her to choose among. One of Plank's biographers, Robert Duffield, having been commissioned to write a newspaper article on Gina, then 22, as the richest girl in Australia, found her interested only in minerals. "Gina tries to be nice to everybody," Duffield wrote. "But if they disappoint her, or annoy her, or in any way seem to threaten her, the friendly filter on the opal clear eyes drops to reveal a more steely blue." While Gina was still in her teens, her famously gruff father said, "She's a lot tougher than me." Gina went to the University of Sydney but lasted only a year. She objected to the lectures of a left-wing economics professor, found she had nothing in common with her classmates, and returned to Perth and her life's mission in what she called, with deadly earnestness, the House of Hancock. Read more. http://www.newyorker.com/reporting/2013/03/130,325 fog_fact_Finnegan #sign 9ZZ2nusk 6P2K